Fine, go look for your own clothes if you don't like the ones I have. She rolls her eyes and settles further into the bed, clearly not bothered by your departure.
Big mistake, Mummy. I go outside and find my father's room. I get one of his clothes, the luxurious one.
You exit the room and venture out into the hallway. After a short search, you find the king's quarters and manage to find some of his fancy clothes. The king seems to be a big and imposing man, so the clothes are slightly oversized for you, but they should do for the time being.
How big is this guy? I'm pretty tall. Maybe he's fat. Oh yeah, he's fat.
As you put on the king's clothes, you notice that they are indeed quite large. Considering your own size and the fact that the king is a hefty man, it becomes clear that the king is likely a bit overweight. The clothes hang loosely on you, emphasizing your lean build in comparison to the king's bulkiness.
I try to wrap it around me until it fits.
You adjust the clothes as best you can, trying to cinch and tuck the extra fabric in an attempt to make them fit better. It takes a bit of effort, and the clothes still don't fit perfectly, but they look somewhat passable now.
Whatever, good enough. I'm going back to that now.
You head back to the bedroom, feeling somewhat uncomfortable in the oversized clothes, but resigned to making do for now. Sophie's eyes widen, a mix of surprise and disbelief crossing her face as she notices you wearing her father's clothes. For a moment, she seems taken aback, not quite expecting this turn of events. Wait, are those my father's clothes? She looks you up and down, her gaze lingering on the oversized clothing that hangs loosely from your frame.
Oh no, is your father overweight?
Sophie huffs and rolls her eyes, clearly annoyed by your question. She crosses her arms and responds sarcastically. Yes, he is overweight, okay? Satisfied?
Well then, it's his clothes, yes.
Sophie grumbles and pouts, not pleased with the situation. She shoots you a glare before letting out a dramatic sigh. Ugh, I can't believe you're wearing my father's clothes. It's just so tacky and classless.
This is classless and tacky. It's the most comfortable thing I ever wore. It's very soft.
Fine. If you find it so comfortable, go ahead and keep wearing it. I guess it suits your tasteless sense of style anyway.
I enter the bed.
You step into the bed next to Sophie, feeling the plush and soft sheets beneath you. The bed is spacious, with plenty of room for both of you. There's a bit of tension in the air between you and Sophie, with her still visibly annoyed at your choice of clothes and your carefree attitude.
So who's your father anyway?
Sophie looks at you, her expression a mix of annoyance and pride. She lets out a huff before responding with a hint of arrogance. My father? He's the king of this entire kingdom, a powerful, wise man who ruled with an iron fist. Why do you even care?
Your father is the king. The king? Oh god, I entered his room and just stole one of his clothes.
Yes, he's the king, you dimwit. And you had the gall to waltz into his room and casually take one of his clothes without a second thought. Do you have any sense of propriety or respect for royalty?
Well, I'm only scared of him now. What are we going to do? Maybe he's not going to notice.
Oh, really? You're only scared now? That's wonderful. And you think he won't notice? Unlikely. My father has a keen eye for details, and he'll definitely realize if one of his favorite clothes are missing.
Oh, I forgot. I've been throwing his clothes around until I found this one.
Sophie facepalms and groans, her irritation reaching new heights. She shoots you an exasperated look before addressing you. Oh, for the love of... You did what?
You what?
You've been throwing his clothes around, making a mess of his room, and you casually took one of his favorite outfits? Are you trying to get us both in trouble?
Maybe getting you in trouble. I'm probably getting myself killed.
Sophie's expression changes to one of concern as she realizes the potential ramifications of your actions. Oh, no, no, no. If you get in trouble, I'm definitely going to be dragged into this mess as well. My father's going to be furious, and I won't escape unscathed. She grips your arm tightly, her eyes wide with worry. You better come up with a plan, and fast. We need to figure out how to fix this before my father finds out.
All right. We'll go back to his room, you know. Make his clothes tidy and we leave.
Sophie hesitates for a moment before nodding reluctantly. Fine, fine. We'll go back to his room and make sure everything's tidy like nothing happened. But we need to be careful. If he finds out... She shudders, clearly worried about the potential consequences. Just follow my lead. I know my father better than anyone.
We go to the king's room.
Sophie leads you back to the king's room, her footsteps quick and cautious. She's nervous, but trying not to show it. As you enter the room, you see the mess you created while searching for the king's clothes. Clothes are thrown everywhere, and the once neatly organized room is in disarray.
Damn, it didn't look as bad as I left it.
Oh, you think so? It looks pretty bad to me. You made a complete mess. I can't believe we have to clean this up.
I start grabbing all the clothes and I just shove it in the wardrobe.
Sophie watches as you frantically shove the clothes back into the wardrobe, trying to tidy up the mess. Great, just shove everything back in the wardrobe. That's a wonderful idea. She huffs, crossing her arms and tapping her foot impatiently, clearly annoyed by your chaotic approach to tidying up.
Oh crap, this is not going to work. All the clothes are wrinkled now.
Sophie facepalms, looking at the wardrobe in despair. She can't believe your lack of care and attention to detail. Oh God, really? You managed to mess up his clothes even more? You're a complete disaster. Do you have any idea how important presentation is for my father?
Look, we just need to iron the clothes, okay? That's it. It's going to take 1 hour. Oh shit.
An hour? You think we can fix this mess in just 1 hour? Are you out of your mind? Ironing all these clothes is going to take much longer than that. She huffs, crossing her arms and glaring at you. She's starting to lose her patience.
Suddenly, you hear footsteps getting closer.
Sophie's eyes widen in panic as she also hears the approaching footsteps. She whispers urgently, "Oh no! Someone's coming, we need to hide, quickly!" She grabs your sleeve and pulls you behind the wardrobe, trying to conceal both of you from view.
Oh wow, I've never been this close to you.
Sophie blushes slightly at your words, but tries to maintain her composure. Shut up. This is not the time for cheesy lines. We need to stay quiet and hope they don't find us. She fixes her hair, trying to regain her usual haughty demeanor. Despite the situation, she can't help but feel a bit flustered by your close proximity.
The king enters the room.
Sophie's heart races as her father, the king, enters the room. She grips your sleeve tightly, her body tense with worry. She whispers under her breath, "Oh no, why does he have to come in now?" She glances at you, her eyes filled with panic. She desperately hopes her father won't notice anything amiss.
So Sophie, you know I'm going to be executed, but what about you? What is he going to do to you? You're his daughter.
What do you think he'll do to me? I'm his daughter, yes, but that doesn't mean I'm immune to punishment. He might yell at me, lecture me endlessly, or even punish me more severely than you. She lets out a deep sigh, her shoulders sagging slightly. Just shut up and let me think. We need to come up with an excuse, anything.
Yeah, let you punish you, maybe make you go to your room. That's what you call a punishment.
Yes, that's what I call punishment. You think going to my room is a vacation? Being confined to a room with nothing to do is a form of punishment. She rolls her eyes, clearly not appreciating your flippant attitude toward her father's punishments. Just trust me, you don't want to experience my father's anger.
The king gets closer to the wardrobe, ready to open it.
Sophie's heart races even more as her father approaches the wardrobe. She grabs your arm even tighter, praying that he won't find you both hiding there. Oh no, he's getting closer. This is it. We're dead.
No, I'm dead. You're just gonna go to your room.
Fine, yes, you're right. You might get executed, but I'll just go to my room. Is that supposed to make me feel better? She huffs, crossing her arms, still gripping your sleeve tightly. She hates that you're making light of the situation, when their lives are potentially in jeopardy.
The door opened and I say, "Hey, Your Majesty, I was just showing your daughter how big your wardrobe is, so I can entirely different room."
Sophie facepalms as you speak up, attempting to explain the situation to her father. She whispers, her voice filled with frustration. Great cover story. That's definitely gonna fly with him. Not. She rolls her eyes, watching as her father turns to look at you, a mix of curiosity and annoyance on his face.
So what do you think about your wardrobe, king? It's still big, right?
The king looks at you with a raised eyebrow, clearly not impressed by your attempt to steer the conversation away from the wardrobe. My wardrobe is quite spacious, yes, but I'm not sure why you're suddenly so interested in it. He glances at the mess of clothes spilling out of the wardrobe, his eyes narrowing in suspicion.
So what do you think, Your Majesty? I just want to get some clothes, that's it. And I felt like yours was gonna fit nicely, and maybe some of your clothes around as I'm looking for this wardrobe that I'm wearing. I'm sorry.
The king raises an eyebrow, his suspicion not fully assuaged. He looks at the clothes you're wearing, clearly recognizing them as his own. He crosses his arms, his gaze hardening. You thought it would be a good idea to go through my wardrobe and toss my clothes around? Do you have any idea how careless and disrespectful that is? He glances around the messy room, his annoyance growing with each passing moment.
Your Majesty, please. I didn't know it was your room, okay?
The king scoffs at your excuse, his irritation growing. You didn't know? Then whose wardrobe did you think it was? Did you just assume you could rummage through someone else's belongings without asking?
Well, to be fair, I didn't know that your daughter was your daughter, okay? Instead of all, I did ask permission from your daughter to go and find me some clothes. And I did that.
The king looks at Sophie, surprise and skepticism evident in his expression. He shifts his gaze back to you, his tone dripping with annoyance. You asked my daughter for permission? To rummage through my private wardrobe? And she said yes?
Not specifically your wardrobe, Your Majesty. I was just looking for a random room to find something that fits me. It was just happened to be your room, okay?
You just happened to stumble into my room looking for a random robe and decided to make a mess of it? You do realize that's hardly a valid excuse? He glances at Sophie, his irritation now turning towards her. And you allowed this stranger into my room? Are you insane? Sophie squirms under her father's disapproving glare, feeling a bit embarrassed and guilty. I didn't think he was going to rummage through your wardrobe. I just told him to look for something that would fit him. I didn't realize. She trails off, unable to meet her father's gaze, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. The king crosses his arms, his stern expression still fixed on both of you. I can't believe this. You allowed a stranger into my private quarters, you let him make a mess of my room, and now you're both scrambling to come up with excuses to avoid consequences. He looks at you again, his eyes narrowing. And I'm not even going to get started on the fact that you're wearing my clothes. Do you have any idea how expensive they are?
Well, Your Majesty, I'm a really complete stranger, okay? I was chosen to be your husband by a treaty between you and the other king, the country that I came from.
The king is caught off guard by this new information, his surprise evident on his face. Wait, you're her fiancé? Why didn't you mention that earlier? And what treaty are you talking about?
Sophie told me I have to marry her on a treaty.
Sophie chimes in, her voice slightly defensive. It was a political arrangement, father. A treaty between our kingdom and their country, sealing the alliance with marriage. The king processes this information, his annoyance waning slightly. He looks at you, his expression softening a bit.
Yes, Your Majesty, and this is my first day here, so of course I'm gonna make mistakes. I don't know how expensive your clothes are and all that, but you're a king, it should mean nothing to you.
The king's eyebrows furrow at your audacity, his patience tested once more. It doesn't matter if you're new here or not. You should know better than to rummage through someone else's belongings without permission, and the cost of my clothes is not the issue. It's the principle of respect and boundaries. He glances at Sophie, his expression hardening again. And you, young lady, you should have known better than to let a stranger roam through my room as he pleases. Sophie shrinks under her father's glare, feeling a pang of guilt. I'm sorry, father. I didn't think it would be such a big deal. I thought he was just going to find some clothes to wear and that's it. I didn't realize he was going to make a mess of your room. She avoids meeting her father's gaze, knowing she's in trouble.
Look, Your Majesty, both of us were built to the room as punishment, for me and Sophie. That should be good, right?
The king considers your suggestion, his annoyance still evident but perhaps slightly mollified. I suppose that's fair. You'll both clean up the mess you've made in my room before leaving, and then you'll go to her room and stay there for the remainder of the day as punishment. He crosses his arms, a stern expression on his face. And don't think I won't be checking up on you two. This kind of behavior is unacceptable, and I won't tolerate it again.
Yes, Your Majesty. No, Your Majesty. I'll do it right away, Your Majesty. I'll go out and get the iron.
The king nods, his expression stern but somewhat satisfied. Good. See that you do. And don't mess up the room even further while cleaning. He watches as you start to tidy up, his gaze following you until you leave the room. Sophie stands next to him, her expression sullen and guilty.
I'll bring the iron as I'll iron the clothes. I make them really tight and I put them back with the wardrobe, except for the one I'm wearing.
The king watches as you work, his eyes flickering between you and the clothes you're ironing. Once you finish tidying up and placing the clothes back in the wardrobe, he speaks up again. Well, at least you're being efficient, but you better not have damaged my iron, or there will be hell to pay.
Yes, of course, Your Majesty. I'm gonna know now.
King nods, his expression softening slightly. You may go, but remember, if I hear any more complaints about you or find any more disturbances, your punishment will be far worse than just being confined to Sophie's room for the remainder of the day. He glances at Sophie, his gaze hardening once more. And that goes for you too, young lady. You better straighten out your act before your mother hears about this. Sophie lowers her head, a mix of shame and defiance in her eyes. I understand, father. She glances at you, a hint of annoyance in her expression, as if blaming you for getting her into trouble.
I go to her room and I just wait for her.
You enter Sophie's room, which is surprisingly tidy and extravagant. The massive king-size bed is covered in fluffy pillows, soft blankets, and an array of expensive accessories. Despite the luxurious surroundings, you notice that the room lacks any personal touches or items that reflect Sophie's individuality, suggesting she spends little time here. As you sit and wait for Sophie to arrive, the minutes pass, and she finally enters the room.
Sophie, I'm sorry for what happened, okay?
Sophie glares at you as she plops down on the bed, her arms crossed and her expression frosty. Yeah, you better be sorry. You got us both into trouble with my father, and now we're both stuck in my room for the rest of the day.
I don't understand the severe punishment of this. It really is a nice room.
Oh, so you think being stuck in this really nice room is some kind of luxury? Please, this place is like a fancy jail. I'd rather be almost anywhere else than cooped up in here with you.
Sophie, relax. It's just one day.
One day? One whole boring day stuck in this room with you. It's gonna feel like eternity. She throws herself back onto the bed, dramatically flinging an arm across her forehead.
Well, the thing that the king forgot about the robe that I'm wearing.
Sophie raises an eyebrow, finally glancing at the robe you're wearing and realizing the irony of the situation. Ha! I guess you're right. At least you get a small win in all of this mess. She props herself up on one elbow, a smirk tugging at the corners of her mouth. I have to admit, you do look rather comfortable in that robe. Maybe I should steal it from you later.
I don't think you should. I'm not wearing anything under this robe.
Sophie's smirk vanishes and her eyes widen as she processes your words. A faint blush spreads across her cheeks, her tough exterior momentarily cracking. Wait, you're not wearing anything underneath? She averts her gaze, suddenly finding the bedding incredibly interesting.
I mean, that's what you do, right? When you wear a robe. You just get naked and just wear it.
Sophie glances back at you, her eyes flickering to the robe's hem, as if trying to confirm your words. She tries to maintain her composure, but a hint of curiosity sneaks into her expression. Yeah, I guess that's how it's usually done. I just didn't expect you to actually do it. She can't help but steal a quick glance at the loose fit of the robe, her mind involuntarily imagining the scene you've described.
Yeah, I might be a commoner, but I know a thing or two about royalty.
Sophie's lips twitch, a mixture of annoyance and reluctant respect visible on her face. Oh, really? And what else do you know about royalty, commoner?
Well, just like I said, you get naked and just wear the robe.
Sophie can't help but let out a small scoff, covering up the hint of flustered amusement in her voice by crossing her arms defensively. Yeah, you've already established that. But what else do you think you know? Do go on.
Okay, you have me. That's the only thing I know.
Sophie rolls her eyes, but a hint of a smile tugs at her lips. She clearly finds your response amusing, though she tries to hide it. Well, at least you're honest. You only know one thing about royalty, and it's the concept of nudity. How impressive.